Hello and welcome, dear ladies and gentlemen. This is Abdullah Noor bringing to you yet another chess video. This time I'm going to be starting a series where each month I feature a grandmaster and show his top 5 games, and who better to start off with rather than Magnus Carlsen. Today the game I'm about to show you is Magnus Carlsen versus Hikaru Nakamura. This was played in 2011 in the King's tournament, 5th King's tournament in Medias Row. Alright, so Magnus has the white pieces and Hikaru has the black. At the time Magnus was rated 2815 and Hikaru was 2774. So Magnus with the white pieces starts out d4 and d5. c4, this is the queen's gambit, and now e6, the queen's gambit declined. Knight to c3 and bishop to e7, the Karusik variation of the queen's gambit declined. C takes on d5, E takes on d5, and now bishop to f4. c6, protecting the d5 pawn, and now queen to c2, preventing this bishop from coming down here to f5, because that's a pretty good score for the bishop. Right? So bishop to g4 instead. White goes for e3, centralizing his pawns kinda and protecting this d pawn here with some support. Also with ideas of developing the bishop and perhaps the knight here to e2. So Hikaru plays bishop to h5, and after bishop to d3 developing, Hikaru plays bishop to g6. Well, now as we can see, what Hikaru does is he breaks like a key opening principle. He brought the bishop from c8 to g4 to h5 to g6. This is not really good. What he should have done, and instead he should have focused on getting his other pieces out. But then again, it's Hikaru Nakamura. It's like, I mean, he was a pretty good player, so I'm no way to refute that. Bishop captures on g6, h captures on g6, opening up the h file here, and now castles queenside. Now castles is an interesting move in this position. Why? Because given that we've seen plenty of Magnus games, he generally castles where his opponent castles, and he tends to play like very decent end games where he slowly like gets his pieces out, attacks, and then eventually capitalizes on the small mistakes that his opponent makes and goes for the win. But here, Magnus castling queenside is a declaration of war. He's going all out, and we'll see later in this video how that pans out. Knight comes down to f6, knight, and now f3. What this f3 move does is it allows the outpost for both the g4 pawn, for the g pawn, and for the e pawn, really protecting e4 and g4 so that he can push his pawns later on, and perhaps even get a good center here with his d and e pawns adjacent to each other. So now knight b to d7 developing, and now knight g to e2. Magnus also develops. b5 now. What Nakamura does here is he makes it really clear to Carlsen that he's not gonna castle queenside and that he's gonna go kingside. So Hikaru, being the aggressive player he is, it's pretty evident he was going to play that, because unlike Magnus, he enjoys really attacking and aggressive positions. So we'll see how that pans out later on. Now Magnus plays e4, fortifying the center here. This f pawn, as we said, beautifully protects the e pawn, and now if captures and captures, then white has 2 beautiful centralized pawns here. So after b4, which really aims to kick away this knight here and really starts the attack here on the queen side, white brings his knight out to a4. So now d takes e4, and now f takes c4, beautifully centralizing his pawns. Well, he's gonna push for the attack here on the knight, and actually black's king side as a whole. Queen to a5, bringing the queen down to attack the knight, and now Magnus plays king to b1. a very vital a very vital chess principle here if you're castling on opposite sides. Because let's say if white plays something else, say white plays, let's say h5, then would come knight, suppose perhaps to b6, and now after knight captures look at this beautiful battery black has here, attacking this pawn here. But Hikaru obviously sees this, doesn't go for it, and in like Magnus actually, and he plays his queen to, after queen a5, he plays his king to b1. Now after castles and h4, breaking ideas of breaking open the position, Hikaru plays rook f to e8, really just trying to get his bishop here to f8, perhaps his knight, depending on what the position asks for the safety of his king. And now Magnus plays e5, going for the attack here, going all out now. Hikaru plays knight to d5, planning to start an attack of his own. And now h5 by Carlsen, breaking open the position, like, at least with ideas of such. Because look at how this queen beautifully slices down on this h7 diagonal here, and this rook has a beautiful battery down to the h file. So if Magnus manages to get this pawn out sometime in the future, then white is going to have an excellent game, and it's just not going to be good for black. Hikaru responds with g5, attacking the bishop here, and now Magnus, instead of protecting his bishop, plays h6. Now if, say, Hikaru goes for captures, then it's just all over for black. After h captures on g7, the king has to capture, and then comes in, and then it's just mate in 2. It's like, I'll see if you guys can spot it. First queen comes down to h7 with a check, and if king moves down to f1, then queen to h8 is checkmate. Hikaru, obviously seeing this, doesn't go for it. Instead of capturing the bishop, he plays g6, closing down the file here. And now after bishop to c1, bringing yet more protection to his castle side, Hikaru plays knight 7 to b6. Of course, attacking the knight here, with perhaps ideas of opening down the a file if white ever plans to capture. Suppose after captures comes captures, and now black has a beautiful file here, bringing down the attack to the white king. And if perhaps a3, then comes just, it's all over for black, because now it opens up the position and black is looking for mate. Doesn't happen. Instead, Magnus plays knight to c5. Right, so the knight is beautifully centralized here. Bishop can although capture, but it gets the knight out of harm's way and also closes down the h file. This pawn cannot move, so black does not have a battery here. Bishop captures on c5, d captures on c5, trading off. And now b3, attacking the queen here, threatening mate. Either b captures queen or queen captures on a2 with checkmate. Magnus obviously captures this pawn with queen captures on b3, and now queen captures on c5, trading off pawns here. Knight to d4, and now rook captures on e5. He really had no good way of protecting this pawn here. If suppose queen comes down to g6, it's really just wasting a move. But, well, we'll see later on how this goes. After knight to d4 comes rook captures on e5, and now knight to f3, attacking this rook here. And it's kind of a fork, because here the knight is attacking this rook and also this g pawn here with both his bishop and his knight. So it's somewhat of a fork by Magnus Carlsen. Now rook to e2, ideas of checkmating the king perhaps in the future, but really black does not have an attack going on here. White, as you can see, is going all out. He's perhaps going to push his h pawn sometime in the future and perhaps bring his queen into the attack later. But black, look at how beautifully protected the white king is. These two pawns are protected by the queen. The bishop is beautifully protecting this b pawn here. And although Hikaru's rook is attacking g2 here, that really isn't going to go anywhere. Knight to g5 captures, queen to e7, defending this h7 pawn here and also attacking this knight. And now queen to d3, attacking the rook here, kind of forcing the capture here on g2, but not going for it. Hikaru plays rook to f8, bringing further more defense here to his like f7 square. And now rook f to d1, attacking it even harder. f5, well, with this f5 move, although this f5 move is like a sort of surrender from black, what this actually does, it very sneakily protects mate, because suppose if any time in the future, suppose something else was played, like say knight comes down to a4, then what you simply get is knight captures, and then once you capture with the rook, this queen can come down here to g6 and really just harass the hell out of this king. So instead of that, Hikaru sees this and hence plays this f5 move. Wait, yeah, f5. Now Magnus plays g4. He wants to break open the position. Beautiful, beautiful move. As you can see, it really cuts out black's protection of the f file. And now knight to a4. Black wants to have some threats of his own. Suppose like knight can come down with a check, and after suppose if white is careless and plays something like let's just say captures, then black can simply just go and check, and if attacks here, well, honestly, it essentially black has no attack here, but well, Hikaru has to do something, right? His pieces are really not doing anything here. He has to bring some sort of an attack if he wants to last in this game. So after queen to d4 comes queen to e5, and after queen captures on e5, rook captures on e5, trading off queens. G captures on f5, G captures on f5, really trading everything. Knight f3, rook to e7, rook f to g1 check. Well, as you can see, both black and white are actually in the end game, but instead white is still attacking, white is still threatening mate. Queen to h7, and now rook to g7, king moves back to h8. Now keep in mind that if, like say, black captured here, then you would get h captures on g7 with the check, and once the king captures back, bishop to h6 really picks up the rook here. It's a skewer, and Hikaru saw this, didn't want to play through this, so after rook to g7 check, he moves his king to h8, and now rook h to g1. Once again, ideas of threatening mate. Hikaru plays rook f to e8, doubling up on the e file, although it's not really going to achieve anything at this point. Knight to h4 with ideas of threatening mate, and now rook captures on g7. And it is in this position that Hikaru Nakamura resigned the game. Why did he resign the game? Because, well, as you can see, black has no real attack here. After, say, rook captures on g7, knight is coming down here to g6 to offer checkmate. There's not really much you can do to stop that. if say rook comes down to e6 to protect, then you would just have knight captures on f7. Really, there's not much in this position you can bank for. h7 is coming, followed by rook to g7 mate. Well, you as you can really see, it doesn't go anywhere for black. It's just like, it's not a position worth playing. Hikaru obviously sees this, doesn't go any further, and resigns the game. So that's all, dear ladies and gentlemen, for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this game, and if you do so, you can always like my video, perhaps give me a thumbs up, and I upload every Saturday, so if that's something you look forward to, then please do subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon. Thank you.